Thank you very much for making time on the marketplace today. Now, as the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta prepares to present a mid-year budget review as well as supplementary budget, he's been challenged to come up with new measures to raise revenues. Former Finance Minister Seth Terkper says government must admit their policies are not working. Speaking to Joy Business, Seth Terkper said government must check its expenditure patterns if it cannot raise the needed revenue.
It is probably time, to concede that the fiscal situation is tight and revenue measures are needed, and that some of the policies, that have been taken in the past, require re-examination in order to save the fiscal or to protect whatever gains may have been made in the fiscal situation, or more appropriately rather, for us to understand in that some of the measures on the expenditure side may require more revenues. I say this because let us remember that we have had more oil revenue. We did not take ESLA away, and a topic of current conversation is the fact that even where laws mandate, like the oil revenue, we may be using oil for consumption purposes instead of investments as envisaged, in those laws. So I honestly think that, we should come to a situation where the Ghanaian public is made to understand the true fiscal situation. We have raised issues, with offsets, which means that, contrary to the belief that payments were being made, it's mere offsets, and probably the payments may be slower, than what the positions in the budgets and in other statements are made to look like.
Moving on to other stories, Access Bank Ghana has launched the W Initiative for Women Entrepreneurs to help rope in unbanked and underserved segments into the retail banking sector. The initiative, which was rolled out in 2015, is being scaled up in a partnership with a Dutch financial institution, FMO Entrepreneurial Development Bank. This is Fred Duho's report.
As universal banks continue to make efforts to rope in many of the unbanked population in the country, Access Bank is partnering FMO Dutch financial institutions to scale up an initiative to give financial support to women with limited access to credit. Senior Investment Officer in charge of financial institutions in Africa, Gerrit van Camping, says the partnership with Access Bank will inure to the benefit of both parties for the next 16 years.
I think the bank already is positioned very well when it comes to supporting female entrepreneurs relative to many other banks. Apart from the aspiration that it will help, obviously, the position of Access Bank relative to female entrepreneurs in Ghana as a business case in itself, it will also help that as a result of it, other institutions will also become aware of the need to support female entrepreneurs.
Managing Director of Access Bank, Olumide Olatunji, on his part, believes the partnership with FMO has come at the right time after a successful implementation in Nigeria. He hoped it will be replicated across the whole Africa.
Partnership essentially is to strengthen our presence and our support to build structures to support women. So we have done this successfully in Nigeria. And what we tend to do is that across Africa, wherever we are, models that have worked successfully in our parent country, in Nigeria, we tend to deploy them across the network. So we are trying to strengthen the W initiative in Ghana, to strengthen women, collaboration with women, empower women financially and also from an advocacy standpoint. So that's what we're trying to do from a regional partnership.
Head of Financial Banking Matilda Santiesiedu said the W is an enabler which will offer women advice on making informed financial decisions. This, she noted, will empower and strengthen women to be able to expand their frontiers in every aspect of their businesses.
It's a whole research that's going to last us another 6 to 8 months. That will tell us whether the products that are out there are working, whether we need to tweak something, what additions we need to make, and also based on our own interaction with our customers, findings that they need additional non-financial service support to grow their businesses. So for instance, in this project that we're doing, we're looking at how we set up a business incubator. So if you're a woman, you want to start a business, or you're already running a business, you're struggling with it, you can walk into the incubator service and get advice.
Fred Wolf's report for Joy Business.
Is the watch in the marketplace? Let's turn attention to some oil and gas stories. Government has awarded 2 oil blocks out of 3 that were up for competitive bidding process for the next round of the competitive bidding process. The Ministry of Energy settled on 2 joint partnerships that won these blocks. George Raffi has the details.
A release from the Energy Ministry stated that First Exploration and Petroleum Development Company, in partnership with Elandel Energy, won the 2nd oil block, while ENI Ghana, in partnership with Vitol Upstream, emerged winners of the 3rd oil block. According to the Energy Ministry, it has invited these firms for negotiations on their petroleum agreement. This should now mean that government is now left with one that will be given out through another competitive bidding. With the remaining 3, 1 has been reserved for GNPC, while the remaining will go through direct negotiation. We cannot independently establish whether Tullow Oil is still in the race or actually lost out, as one of the blocks that he had applied has gone to Vitol and ENI. 14 oil firms were shortlisted for the final round of competitive bidding as well as the direct negotiations. This resulted in 60 applications being submitted to the Energy Ministry. This was after Exxon and BP withdrew from the contest, which they were requesting for direct negotiations for some 2 oil blocks. Government has maintained to make sure that it gets the right level of revenue from the sale of these oil blocks.
Well, so the companies that won the bid are the First Exploration and Petroleum Development Company Limited, which is in partnership with Elandel Energy Ghana Limited for Block 3, while ENI Ghana Exploration and Production Limited in partnership with Vitol Upstream Tunnel Limited taking Block 2 for exploration. Now, some of these are quite new companies in Ghana's waters. Let's get some education here. And energy expert Ishmael Ejukumihene joins us via Skype to tell us more. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the marketplace.
Emmanuel.
Now, do you have any reservations on the selection of the aforementioned companies?
Not quite. I mean, once they were part of the process from the beginning, and if they've ended up being the ultimate, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have any contrary view until proven otherwise. So, yes, they were part of the process from the beginning, and if they ended up winning, then I want to believe that they won it fair and square. Like you said in your introduction, I'm not too sure I'm familiar with one of the companies that won, I think the Lot 3 or something like that. They must be new to Ghana, the Ghanaian industry. But beyond that, I don't have any basis to question those who have been selected. Let me put it that way.
With a company like Tullow Oil, which is already operating in Ghana's waters, also participating in this bid, it does not come as a surprise when this company, which has already drilled and produced some oil for us, failed to make way in this bid.
Again, without any prejudice to what anybody has done, I expect Tullow to speak out if they feel that they've been hard done. But it would have also meant that all the other players in the industry, like the Jubilee partners and the 10 partners, probably should be winning every tender that we put out there. I think each lot has its own different challenges and characteristics, and I based on the criteria the evaluation team set for itself, they probably found those, especially in the case of the one that Tullow actually put in a bid for, the one won by ENI and Vitol, presumably they offered a better deal or they showed a better prospects than Tallow. I mean, it's a little bit strange and surprising that they didn't win if they were competing with some of these companies. But again, the evaluation team must have seen something in these other companies that they think is better than what Tallow was offering.
Now, can you give us some education here? What exactly, does the Ghana's EMP, Exploration and Petroleum Law Act 919, say about oil block allocation?
Well, there are three. I think one is competitive bidding, where like the process is that this administration instituted a couple of months or years ago. Previously, it was through direct negotiations until the coming into being of 919. So there is the competitive bidding, which is what has just been completed, and then you still have the one that government says direct negotiations, like the ExxonMobil one that the government said because of the peculiarities of the field, they think that ExxonMobil is the best IOC to work in that field. So that's the second. And then the third one is when the government said we're reserving some of the blocks for GMPC to, so that is not subject to any competition. We want to build or develop our own capacity, so we're going to give. So these are the three. But I think the main one is the competitive bidding, which is what we all fought for and said should be the order and not the rule, not the exception.
Now, my understanding is that these two, winners may have to go to yet another stage where they would have to negotiate finally with the power that be. May this not undermine the competitive bidding process?
That's an important question, but for it to be part of it at this stage and for the ministry to announce that they're going to go into negotiations with them suggests that it's been part of the arrangement right from the beginning. Previously when we were doing the direct negotiations, we used to have the model petroleum agreement, which is it's almost like a template. That's the starting point, and then when you sit down and negotiate with them, that's where that's the starting point for all the negotiations. Whether that still constitutes the basis or now with this open tender, there's another basis from where they're going to negotiate from. 1% increase in royalty makes a lot of difference. So even if it's 0.5, it makes a lot of difference. So I think that's what it's going to be about. But hitherto, we had the model agreement that sort of become the starting point. I don't know whether they're still going to use that or there's a new template they're going to start negotiating on. But I don't think they would have announced the negotiations post the bidding process if it wasn't part of the law. I need to check the law properly to see whether that is still allowed. But for them to have announced the winners and said we're going to negotiate with them presupposes that it should be permissible under the law for them to do that.
All right, many thanks for that update. Ishmael Jokomene is Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, KITE. He's also an energy expert. He's been sharing his thoughts on the decision by the Ministry of Energy to award 2 oil blocks to bidding companies for the next round. Turning attention to other stories, the country's informal sector will see a boost in various pension products offered by service providers. This will be achieved by the use of a new technology, the switch introduced by the World Bank in collaboration with the National Pensions and Regulatory Authority, NPRA. The World Bank Country Director for Ghana, Frank Pierre Laporte, says the technology has been deployed successfully in several other countries and expressed confidence it will enhance pension schemes in both the formal and informal sectors. He spoke with Joy Business after addressing a stakeholders workshop on pensions in Accra.
We are supporting this in many countries, and we are hoping that Ghana can be, as I said earlier, a pioneer in this respect. We have a trust fund that is financing this activity. But beyond this activity, the whole issue of pension coverage is a broader issue because it's, on the one hand, we want to be sure that in covering as many people as possible, we are addressing the issue of poverty also. But at the same time, as you know, the financial sector needs to be modernized, and the more that we can support the modernization through technology, we can achieve that objective of increasing coverage.
Any targets for this technology?
It's too early to say. It's too early to say. I think by the end of this seminar, we would be able to do that. But what I can tell you is today, about 80% of workers operate in the informal sector. So to the extent that we can target a large majority of this through this kind of reforms, then we will be covering a large portion of the population. Look, best practice is to have a pension, one that is affordable to the population, one that covers as much of the segment of the population as possible, but also pension schemes that are sustainable. Many countries face a growing, ever more older population. So your pension scheme has to be sustainable to be able to cover in the long run. So if you are just collecting money today, you have to take into account that the population are growing older, and oftentimes you have to review things like premium coverage to ensure that you have enough money to pay for those when they get older, those like us today.
And in a related development, Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafwewia, has hinted that contributions under Tier 3 pension scheme will begin accessing their benefits from January 2020. This is part of measures by the government to enhance the livelihoods of contributors. The 3-tier pension scheme is part of pension reforms undertaken by the government after the National Pensions Act was passed. Speaking at the opening of the National Pension Dialogue, Ignatius Bafwewia disclosed that pension funds have now accrued enough to improve the conditions of beneficiaries.
The Social Security and National Insurance Trust is mandated by law to invest funds of contributors to be paid upon their retirement. The forum focused on the pensions reforms expected to take place from next year, which aims at attracting contributors from the informal sector. According to the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafwewia, government has given the approval for the payment of Tier 3 pension from January 2020.
2020, if anybody retires, what is going to happen is that the person will go to his or her scheme and take the part of Tier 3 which is held by the scheme, and then go back also to SNIT and take the part of Tier 2 which SNIT had held as past credit, together with the interest that has accrued on it. So if that payment from SNIT will move on and gradually phase out over time.
The minister also revealed that the National Pensions Regulatory Authority has begun working on some modalities to look at private pension scheme operators.
We are going to meet for 3 days to have a national discourse on how best to rope in more informal actors into the 3rd-tier pension scheme.
Do you have any targets?
Why wouldn't you join us at the workshop?
Any proposal from the various bodies, the stakeholders?
Certainly, there are quite a number of players within the district, and on a daily basis we get proposals. But of course, some proposals may be good, some may not be good, some may suit our conditions, some may not suit our conditions. It is for us to be able to bring them all together, look at them and look for the one that will best suit us.
The Social Security and National Insurance Trust is expected to go through some reforms to improve their service delivery to contributors and beneficiaries. Ebenezer Sabutu's report for Joy Business.
Now, government has given the nod for 2 out of over 50 leafy vegetable exporters to continue trading on the European market. This follows a month's indefinite ban on exportation. Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture responsible for horticulture, Kennedy Osenyako, made this known at the opening of the maiden edition of the Hortifresh Fruit and Vegetable Fair on the theme Promoting Quality Fruits and Vegetables for a Competitive Domestic and Export Market. Bismarck Awusa has more.
Exactly a month ago, the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Directorate issued a statement to ban the exportation of all leafy vegetables to the international market. A decision it described as necessary to address all possible loopholes and challenges resulting from a similar ban earlier imposed by the European Union. Addressing media, Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture responsible for horticulture, Kennedy Osei-Nyako, says government's engagement with the Vegetables Exporters Association so far has resulted in 2 farms given permission to resume their exports.
Our first meeting after the suspension was on the 19th of June. Out of the 51 farms that we visited, only 2, qualified. We were able to qualify 2 farms that they can begin their export. So based on that, we lifted the suspension with those 2 to do the export. We gave ourselves another 2 weeks, which will end tomorrow, that we are going to meet all the Vegetable Exporters Association. We will meet all of them and all stakeholders. I think the second one that we have done so far, the review is very encouraging, but we'll wait till tomorrow when we meet the larger body we'll put before them.
The 4-day Hortifresh Fruits and Vegetable Fair, which is underway, seeks to create market opportunities for horticultural businesses as well as sensitize the general public about horticulture sector activities. Project Manager of Hortifresh, Sheila Sibeyebwa, describes the EU's ban on local vegetable exportation as a blessing in disguise.
There were specific selected value chains that were banned, and they were banned. And this really affected the industry? It really affected the industry. But then it was a blessing in disguise. You know, of course, with hindsight, you get to appreciate some of the things, some of the bad things that happened. And Ghana was able to improve upon their systems, and were able to coordinate all activities and get things back again to stay competitive, to be able to meet the standards of the EU market.
Some exhibitors at the fair expressed various concerns and are seeking government support.
Hendy Farms is a mango farm. We grow mangoes in Dodowa and we process into a variety of mango-based produce. Generally, we use post-harvest loss, so we try and reduce post-harvest loss in making the products that you see here. So the first one is financing, is actually meeting that bulk order and being able to upscale to meet the demand. That is the first challenge. The other challenge is actually on farm gates. So growing the mangoes to a standard that you can meet international standards for certification. More support for farmers, more inputs, funding, again, back to funding, that will be the key thing.
When I saw the name JKV Investments Limited, I was wondering, is it an investment firm?
JKV Investment is the producer of Eva Virgin Coconut Oil Premium. Wow. And the factory is based in Sekendi Takrady. And we produce for both the local and export markets. Currently, we are selling it at a very discounted price at the fair here, but when you go to the supermarkets, the retail price is different.
Christian Farms is into pineapple juice production. Our product is Christian juice, and Christian juice is a natural fruit juice. My main problem is how to get the packaging materials. We have bottles that we are using, if you can see. But for now, we don't have any bottle manufacturing company in Ghana.
The theme for the fair resonates with Hortifresh's mission to develop an internationally competitive and sustainable fruits and vegetables sector in Ghana. The Netherlands ambassador to Ghana, Ron Stricker, indicated that the fair shows the Netherlands' commitment to promote agriculture through private sector investment. Bismarck Ewuse's report for Joy Business.
And that will be a wrap for this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for joining me. My name is Emmanuel Boachi. You have been listening again, same time tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.